Hey YouTube, James from the Wyvern Watch here. I'm here with another deck profile. This time it is my Fortune Fairy deck, which is recently built. I've recently put it together, but I've actually had the core for quite some time, ever since Battles of Legend, Heroes Revenge, is it? I think it about BLHR, I can't remember 100%. But yeah, really like the aesthetics of the deck and the whole concept of it. It is a spellcaster deck, it's multi-attribute, and it's just all, basically a really nice archetype for my particular sort of style. This is the kind of thing I like, and obviously you've been able to sort of put my own stamp on it. There aren't a lot of Fortune Fairy decks out there, and it's difficult to realise what a good build looks like. At the moment, this deck is absolutely in testing, and there's one or two flaws with the deck that I'm just not particularly happy with at the minute, so may end up switching some of these cards out. But this is the whole point of this sort of deck profile, is really sort of putting the list out there, seeing what people think of it, see if there's one or two components that I'm perhaps missing, but on the whole, it works quite well. It's certainly not a competitive deck, of course. Don't try and take this to locals. You're not going to do very, very well with it, and you'll come away with a big old sad face on you. But like I say, this is just a funsies deck, but I like to try and make things work on the open. When you read these cards, they sound pretty good, but when you read the first line of text on the Fortune Fairies, there is a big downside to it. So the first one, of course, is Hikari. When you draw this card, and there's the first line of text, when you draw this card, you can reveal it and special summon it from your hand. So on the hand, off the bat sort of thing, it's actually quite a good effect, because obviously what you want to do is get drawing as much as possible. And what I should also mention is that all the Fortune Fairies share the same effect, where if you draw it, you reveal it. When you draw it and you reveal it, you special summon it, and then they come up with their own effects as well. So if this card is special summoned from the hand, you can target one monster you control and send it to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon one level 1 spellcaster monster from your deck. You can only use the effect of Hikari once per turn. So really nice enabler, really good for the deck. But like I say, that first line of text, when you draw this card, is the big downfall for me. It misses timing like you've never seen anything before, and I played decks that missed timing before, and this one is particularly poor for it. So much so that if you are ever playing against friends and stuff, I would probably agree with your opponent up front that actually says if you draw this card, as opposed to when, because it spoils it completely. The whole concept of the deck is to, and obviously they're all attack 0 and defense 0, so even having 3 or 4 on these on the field on their own, it doesn't stop there, because obviously you've got no attack power and no win condition. So it really doesn't harm the opponent really, because it's not, like I say, it's not a meta defining deck or anything. But if you agree with your opponent that says if, then I would do that personally, and I would be okay with it, just to make the deck work at all. The when is such a massive drawback. But having said that, it's great fun to play, and like I say, just trying to make it work is the main thing for me. The second card up is Fortune Fairy N. This is obviously the level 2, changed attributes again to fire. When you draw this card, you can reveal it, special summon it from your hand, and if this card is special summoned from the hand, you can target one set card your opponent controls and destroy it. Which is nice little effect, but obviously it's just another one that you can special summon from your hand, hopefully. Another 3 of is Who, which is the level 3, and of course the Wind archetype. So again, same effect, obviously special summon from your hand, and when it is special summon from the hand, you can target one of your banished spellcaster monsters, add it to your hand, and again it's another hard once per turn. Then we're going for Sui, the level 4, which of course is also a 3 of. So again, same effect. And if this card is special summoned from the hand, you can target one of the face-up monsters on the field and banish it until the standby phase of your next turn, which is nice, and getting a little bit of spot removal there, and hopefully allows you to go ahead and take the game. Just the 2 Anne, which is the level 5 version, and the dark attribute. So when you draw this card, you can reveal it, special summon it from your hand as usual. And if this card is special summoned from the hand, you can banish one spellcaster monster from your deck. So you know, it gets you another spellcaster out of your deck, and there are ways and means of getting it from the banish zone as well. Back to a 3 of, this is the level 6, which is Chi. So usual effect, and then if this card is special summoned from the hand, you can make each player draw 1 card. You can only use the effect of Chi once per turn. Obviously, it gets you the opponent a draw, but hopefully it's going to land correctly for you. So that's it for the Fortune Fairy main deck monsters. Well, there are no extra deck monsters, so that's it for the Fortune Fairy monsters. On to a couple of support cards I picked up for it though. So I've got 2 Chocolate Magician Girl, which is actually the Lost Art version. They're not that much different really, to be honest with you, than the regular version, but I do like the ultra rare one. So if you're not familiar with Chocolate Magician Girl, once per turn you can discard 1 spellcaster monster and then draw 1 card, full stop. So that won't miss timing unless there's anything else going off. And then once per turn, if this card is targeted for an attack, you can target 1 spellcaster monster in your graveyard except Chocolate Magician Girl, special summon it, then change the attack target to it. And if you do, the attacking monster attack becomes half its current attack. So that makes things a little bit awkward. But it is a spellcaster, and obviously it fits well in the deck with the extra draw power. Now this is a bone of contention for me. So this is Dimension Conjurer. It seems like a good card off the bat, but there is a problem with it. So if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 magical dimension from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Full stop, that's great, we like that. If this card is sent from the monster zone to the graveyard, you can draw cards equal to the number of spellcaster monsters you control. Then, excuse me, place cards from your hand on top of your deck in any order, equal to the number of cards you drew. And then you can only do that once per turn. So the first bit is obviously grabbing magical dimension from your deck or graveyard to hand. Got no issues with that. That works fine. You know, it's a spellcaster. It's level 1. It's a good on the whole. It's good for the deck. If this card is sent from the monster zone to the graveyard, you can draw cards equal to the number of spellcaster monsters you control. Now, if that was a full stop and the end of that particular effect, that would be ideal, because the drawing is the last thing that happens, therefore your Fortune Fairies won't miss timing. However, it then says, then place cards from your hand on top of your deck in any order equal to the number of cards you drew. So that bit is the last thing that happens, therefore your monster will miss timing off the draw. So on the face of it, it looks good for the deck. However, that's the one card I'm thinking about sort of dropping and looking for alternatives to replace. And last of the monsters is, of course, Effect Veiler. Picked these up in the Platinum Secret Rare from Rarity Collection number 1. Really pretty card. Obviously, it's level 1. It's a tuner. Not that they've got an awful lot of synchro options in here. Obviously, it's Effect Veiler, and we know what the effect does. Then onto the spells. So, Lucky Loan is a nice card, actually. Really nice artwork. Kind of the reason sort of, you know, it's drawn me to sort of put the deck together. So target 1 Fortune Fairy monster you control and special summon 1 spellcaster monster from your hand or deck whose original level is 1 lower than the monster's. Also, during the next turn after this card resolves, you cannot normal or special summon monsters except spellcaster monsters. So if you're going to run this card, you need to be careful, because obviously it is going to lock you into spellcasters, including the special summons. So, you know, when you're working your way up in your from your extra deck, you need to be careful of what you've got available in that extra deck. Otherwise, you might lock yourself out for a turn or two. But of course, it's a really nice getting an extra body on board, and that's the whole point. 3 of on those. Also, 3 of Unacceptable Result. So if you control a spellcaster monster, special summon 1 Fortune Fairy monster from your hand. Nice and simple. Obviously, quick play. No reason not to run it, really. And obviously, if you're special summoning from the hand, it will also enable the Fortune Fairy monster's effect as well. Also playing 3 Spellbook of Knowledge. Everyone knows about Spellbook of Knowledge. Obviously, you need to be dropping a spellcaster monster from the field, because you need to be controlling a spellcaster monster. However, unless you've got 2 of them in your hand, of course, in which case you're dropping a Spellbook of Knowledge. I assume you can do that. One of the spellback comes and face up on your field, except Spellbook of Knowledge. Oh, so you can't do it with Spellbook of Knowledge. So you do need the spellcaster monster, which means, of course, you're putting one on the field, using its effects, and then what you're hoping, of course, is that the draw 2 obviously enables one of your Fortune Fairies to then special summon itself. Bit of a dodgy one, but hopefully the other cards will make up for it as well. Just the 2 magical stone on this one. Obviously a continuous spell, so you can only control 1 miracle stone, and all spellcaster monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense for each Fortune Fairy monster you control with different names. And then once per turn, when an attack is declared involving a Fortune Fairy monster, you can draw 1 card. Really nice again. I don't think you need 3 of them, of course, because like I say, you can only control 1 anyway. And the attack and damage boost is nice, but it's only going to really work for you if you've got a number of Fortune Fairies on the field. But the draw 1 card, of course, is always nice as well. Now, this is the 1 card I switched out pretty last minute because I did have Upstart Goblins in here, which are in fact here. So let me just read out Upstart Goblin, because everyone knows what Upstart Goblin does, but it says draw 1 card, then your opponent gains 1,000 life points, and that's the problem with Upstart Goblin. I thought on paper this was going to be brilliant for the deck, but it's not, because it misses timing. Draw 1 card, great, but then your opponent gains 1,000 life points. So the 1,000 life points is the last thing to happen, and therefore your Fortune Fairy will miss timing. So I pulled those out last minute, put Pot of Desires in, which of course makes sense because you've got running 3 of most of the cards anyway. So banish 10 cards from the top of your deck face down, draw 2 cards. That is the last thing that happens in the effect of Pot of Desires. So if you do draw into a Fortune Fairy, you will be able to special summon it. Another 2 of is Pinpoint Landing. Really like this card. I play it in a couple of decks now. I think I play it in Marincess, Fur Hire, and also now Fortune Fairy. So if exactly 1 monster is special summoned from the hand to your field, you can draw 1 card. You can only use the effect of Pinpoint Landing once per turn, and then during your end phase, if you have not drawn a card by this effect this turn, you can send this card to the graveyard. So, you know, obviously it might get you that extra draw. Fingers crossed it does. Obviously you'll lose it if you haven't been able to use it, but hopefully you'll activate it when you do know that you'll be able to at least get 1 draw from it. The other card I've got next is the last 2 of is Triple Tactics Talent. Again, the Platinum Rare out of Rare Collection 1, really pretty. This is here because obviously at the end of the day it's a good draw card. So if your opponent has activated a monster effect during your main phase this turn, activate one of these effects. And the first one, of course, is draw 2 cards, full stop. So that would be the end. And again, that would mean that your cards don't miss timing. Or you could take control of your opponent's monster until the end phase, or look at your opponent's hand and choose 1 card from it and shuffle it into the deck. Everyone knows Triple Tactics Talent, but we're primarily using it for the draw power, of course. 3 one-offs to end the profile, or end the main deck profile, I should say. So these are sort of the one-offs. Magical Eyes Fusion, of course, because we're running Quintet Magician in the extra deck. And it's just a nice little addition that I throw into most of my sort of pure spellcaster decks. Card Destruction, this is the only deck I've run this card in, and this is an SDY first edition that I found in my collection. And I thought, well, we'll run with the old school. We can really tell that it's properly old. But both players must discard their entire hands and draw the same number of cards that they discarded from their respective decks. I'm sure if you look to check it up on Neuron, it's probably changed its text a little bit. But essentially it does the same thing. And of course the one magical dimension, which the Conjurer sort of will get for you. Again, this is a Turbo Pack 2 card that again I found in my collection. Really nice thing. Activate only when you control a face or spellcaster monster, tribute 1 monster and special summon 1 spellcaster monster from your hand. Then you can destroy 1 monster on the field. So again, it enables the special summon from the hand, and then destroying 1 monster from the field is always nice, and of course it's a quick play spell. That's it for the main deck. No traps in this deck, just pure monsters and spells. Little bit around extra deck. Like I say, this is very much a sort of testing point, and really this is where your win conditions coming from, because your main deck isn't going to do it for you. So you need to have the pieces available in order to sort of build up and make your attack from there. But starting with links, of course, we've got 2 Relinquished Anima. I'll put those over here so you can get the whole thing on the screen there. I just think there's a few occasions when you're left with just the 1 spellcaster monster, or 1 level 1 spellcaster monster, which means of course you can go into Relinquish and hopefully get the advantage from there. We've got 1 Artemis, the Magistus Moon Maiden, which is a pretty staple link monster for me when going checking out the spellcaster decks. We've got 1 Lena, of course, as well, and also 1 Dark. I mean, you could technically play all of the Charmers in here with the amount of attributes that you've got available to you. But I've just chosen to go light and dark on this occasion. 1 Daybreaker, the Shining Magical Warrior, just because it's not very often you get a chance to play it in a deck. I've got 1 Selene, of course, and 1 access code talker. I suppose that is your sort of main win condition, really, trying to get to access code talker. The trouble is, obviously, if that's blocked once, then you're going to struggle here. But you know, what I would also suggest is if you're thinking that actually something would be more useful in the extra deck than what I've shown you, please feel free to put in the comments below, and we'll have a look at making an addition. So I've got 2 Slacker Magicians, again, just as, you know, if we've got a couple of level 1s in there, we can make use of it. And also to go with that, we've got 2 Downer Magicians as well, just so we can go rank up sort of thing into Downed. I've got 1 Divine Arsenal Double A Zeus. I wouldn't call it a win condition, but it's sort of a rescue condition, I would say. Just the 1 Synchro, so TG Wonder Magician. Fairly standard. Obviously the fact it's a tuner is irrelevant really, but when this card is synchro summoned, select 1 spell trap card on the field and destroy it, and then when this card is on the field, is destroyed, draw 1 card. So again, that would be the last thing that happens. So you draw, and then if you do draw into a Fortune Fairy, of course you can use its effect, which is why TCG Hyper Wonder Magician's there. But also it's my copy of Ultimate Rare one, which I really wanted to use in a deck. And of course the last card is Quintet Magician, as I mentioned before, another little enabler and potentially a win condition as well for you. Guys, that's it for the deck profile for Fortune Fairies. Thank you for tuning in as usual. This one needs some testing and needs some work on it, so I can imagine there'll be another list once I've managed to do that, with a few updates as to where we're up to with it. But for now, that's the list we're going to be working with. It's a bit of trial and error, and if you guys got any suggestions on what I might include to make the deck a little bit stronger, or to try and avoid the mistiming, that would be absolutely amazing. Once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't already. Throw a like out there if you're happy with it. And like I say, we'll keep the comments coming. Speak to you soon, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.